Well, there's no surprise that rugby in Australia has financial challenges that come after almost a decade of deteriorating performance on the paddock. In turn, that's translated into the price of television deals that it can negotiate and also its sponsorship opportunities. Well, Rugby Australia reported a $9.2 million deficit in 2023 and warned that this year will be equally challenging. But after 2 wins on the trot against England and Wales, but then a loss against Scotland and a match tonight against Ireland, the current team slowly is regaining some respect. But in the background, things are also changing for Rugby Australia. And one of those things, oddly, is a future fund with $12 million of an expected $100 million already raised. Now, this fund will donate 1% of its assets annually to the Rugby Foundation, the Australian Rugby Foundation. And it might be a small start, but it will grow over time. Brian O'Sullivan is the chairman of the Rugby Future Fund Investment Committee, and I caught up with him a little earlier.
Right, it compounds over time and it does that well with such a stellar lineup of underlying managers that have lent against the will and, helping us with this offer.
OK, so rugby, we say, is financially challenged. There's no doubt. The television deals have been tough. And even though in the future they might be worth a lot more, rugby itself is trying to find ways to fund itself, to fund its future, its expansion. Is that the reason why these fund managers have turned up and offered their services?
Yeah, I think the objective of the foundation is to invest in growth and participation of rugby across all aspects of the game. Not just Rugby Australia in the top of the pyramid, but at grassroots across community, women's and high performance. So we're leaning in and we want to really promote those activities and develop pathways. Increase participation. There's 60,000 women and girls playing rugby now. How do we support that growth? More volunteers need training, need support. So we need to do across the whole game and work together across the whole game to increase growth and participation in the game. Okay, that'll bring eyes and that'll bring all the other stuff.
So who's putting the money in? Is it people out in the street? Is it me? Is it who is actually putting the dough in to seed this thing? And then is it actually that they're making a donation or are they making a genuine investment that they too will actually make money out of?
Yeah, this is a win-win-win proposition. So third-party investors, completely separate to Rugby Australia, investing in a fund set up separately where they expect us to deliver on 3 things. Performance on their invested funds, which they get back in terms of capital and income, and if we don't do a good job...
So just like a normal investment fund?
Normal investment fund. Yeah. But what's happening through the involvement of these managers that have, supporting the initiative, they're doing it pro bono. Now, these are active managers that produce active returns.
So what type of managers are these we're talking about?
Australian equity managers, long, short, some global managers and a little bit of yield, but predominantly Australian equity linked strategies.
OK, so they've donated their services and in return, effectively, what does rugby get out of it? OK,
so the Australian Rugby Foundation gets 1% of assets. So if you give me $100 into this fund, $1 will go to the foundation to support its activities. That's a good deal.
So, OK, so that's normally around about the price, give or take. It might be a bit more, but not much more than what an active manager would normally charge an investor to manage their funds.
Yeah, the base fees on these managers on average are 1%. However, these managers are high quality. Some of them are in capacity constrained strategies where they charge performance fees on top, up to 15% of profits. That's where you're getting some real juice out of the deal for investors.
Right. So then the fact is that if this thing grows, if more people put money in, the thing gets bigger, and so the amount that's actually contributed to the Rugby Foundation gets bigger over time. And that's the idea. That's not necessarily how big it is today, but it's how big it will be in the future time. That is the absolute key, like any future fund. Like I think, what did I say this week? That the future fund, the big Australian future fund, has $130 billion in it. Now, we're not suggesting that this is where the Rugby Foundation future fund will get to, but if it gets much bigger than it is today, it gives a guaranteed amount of money to that Rugby Foundation.
Yes, the foundation has been raising money. It's been around since 2014. What do we hope to do? Double its income and make it stable. So those programs that we're investing in, from grassroots, women's, community, high performance, that those programs get committed to on the basis of a stable income.
Because I guess the foundation at the moment, most of its dough would come from either bequests when people pass away and they're rugby lovers, or indeed from very wealthy individuals who would themselves make donations simply because they want to see the game of rugby flourish.
Yeah, it's an innovative way. Rather than asking you to cut a cheque to the foundation, allocate a part of your investment portfolio and it'll do that for you.
OK, so then I did say that the game of rugby financially has been constrained in Australia. This is another way of trying to guarantee some money. And as I say, small at the beginning, bigger as it goes on, and to develop more people coming through the game of rugby to be able to administer it, to make certain that you've got, you know, sort of at the highest level, the very best teams from the biggest and deepest pool of talent available to go and compete in these international games.
Yeah, well, Rugby Australia and that balance sheet will invest in that top level of talent and contract that top level talent. Here we're focusing below that level at community, pathway and women's.
So then,
build the participation.
OK, so then the managers themselves will just go about their ordinary everyday jobs. It'll be part of their pool.
That's right.
And so the investors are just got to keep a little eye on where they're going to in regards to that pool, but they're just investors like they would be in anything else.
That's right. And it's a liquid strategy. If we don't do a good job in terms of performance, delivering on the purpose aspect and giving them a different experience around this. There's lots of product that they can invest in, but not many like this. From our point of view, until someone tells me different, it's a first in the world for sport from my point of view. I'm waiting for someone to tell me different.
There you go. It's going to be interesting to see whether others try and emulate it in different sports or in other parts of the world. Brian O'Sullivan, good to have you on the program today. Many thanks for your time.
Thanks very much, Ross.